back with former RNC chair Michael Steele. How are you, sir?
I am well, brother. How you doing?
I'm good. Excited to have you decode this. Sometimes they say these politicians, they don't even talk across the lines. Well, with the media...
Oh, wait a minute. If I knew it was going to be decoded and I would have had a drink, all I brought was water.
Hey, drink whatever you want. We're near the end of the week. Look, they did talk to each other through the media. The president made his case yesterday. I think it was heard by many. Part of what he said was, look, they won't tell you what they stand for. The press, as we often do, we throw questions out to everybody, said, they say, you won't tell us what you stand for. And Mitch McConnell said, you got it.
You're right. Yeah, because they know. They don't know what they stand for. They stand for whatever Donald Trump wakes up tomorrow morning and says they stand for. And then that will change by about lunchtime, and it'll change again around dinner. So that's the reality. Remember, we're talking about a party that doesn't have a platform. All right, they decided because Donald Trump didn't want to put out there what we believe and or stood for. We have no platform. We saw after 8 years of the Obama administration, and I was on the front line of those early fights over health care. Okay, we lost. Health care passed. Obamacare passed. So then Republicans said, all right, we're going to put forward, a plan to repeal it. We're going to repeal it, and we're going to replace it. We're going to replace it with a better health care plan and strategy. Then there was infrastructure week for 4 years. So the reality of it is, and this goes to the core, what voters have to consider going into this November. I get it. There's a lot of frustrations going around Biden, but the brother gave you infrastructure. He put something on the table. He's dealing, and it's popular. He's dealing with COVID, right? He got, shots in the arms and resources to the communities. And yeah, there have been blips and blops, and there are things that I don't agree with, all right? But at least he's giving me something that I can disagree with, right? I can't disagree or agree with you when you tell him, well, I don't know what it is, but give me the power and I'll let you know. That's just not how government's supposed to work.
Right.
So, Ari, I think voters have to take it seriously when the Republicans tell you, we're not showing you anything until you give us the power.
Yep.
Right? And they need to understand what Joe Biden and unfortunately the Democratic Party just can't seem to get out of its own way, or at least trying to do in terms of policy and the politics.
Well, and it's not very conservative to say, here, give me a bunch of federal power, but I'm not going to be held to any plan or standard. Traditional conservatism is to actually outline that and have limits on power. You mentioned when Obama came in, and that's when you were first appointed to RNC chair and running the party during that transition period. We actually have, because it is January 20th today, we have just a look back, because boy, has America gone through a lot, a look at some of these inaugural addresses from Obama, Trump, and Biden. Each of these 1 year ago and then more years ago behind that. Let's take a look.
A man whose father less than 60 years ago might not have been served at a local restaurant can now stand before you to take a most sacred oath.
The crime and the gangs and the drugs that have stolen too many lives and robbed our country. This American carnage stops right here and stops right now.
On this hallowed ground where just a few days ago, violence sought to shake the Capitol's very foundation, we come together as one nation, under God, indivisible, to carry out the peaceful transfer of power.
Very different leaders. What do you see here?
What I see are three men who have a very clear view of how they see America. Obama, who recognized the moment standing there as the first African-American president, and what the history of the country, the torturous, sometimes and oftentimes painful history of the country led to that moment, but we came through it. Then you had Donald Trump, who saw this dystopia, this kind of barren wasteland of carnage where, people are dying in the streets and being mugged and all of that. And then you had Biden, who actually had to deal with real carnage just a few weeks before he took the oath of office, trying to find ways to reconnect the country to itself. So I think that these individual men as presidents give the country at least some guideposts in terms of how they assess leadership, because that leadership is a reflection ultimately of us at the end of the day, because they are an extension. By our extension, through our votes, we give them the power, we give them the authority, which is why it matters who you send to Congress, who you send to the governor's mansion, who you send to the state legislature, because in effect, you're sending a little bit of yourself. And as a community, if you really hate your neighbor, then you're probably going to send somebody who's rather hateful. But if you do have a sense of loving the country despite its problems, and you want us to do better, then hopefully those types of candidates will appeal to you.
I feel that. And that's really what, when we do reflect on these things like these anniversaries, it's worth looking at, because those were very different, as you said, appeals to the nation. Michael comes back. We try to keep our word around here, Michael. We started a conversation with you and a special guest last year. We're going to pick it up later tonight. So I'll see you again tonight, sir.